Rafah political red lines. Those bold pronouncements of uncrossable boundaries etched in, well, not stone, not really even sand. More like red lines are written on one of those Etch-A-Sketch toys. You know, the ones where one shake and it is all gone. Politicians drawing red lines, it suggests decisiveness, conviction, a spine not entirely composed of jelly. It's all very impressive until it isn't. Because, let's be honest, red line in geopolitical discourse is often code for we'll see what happens. Don't hold your breath. Or my personal favorite, we'll get back to you after this commercial break. And nowhere is this game of rhetorical limbo more apparent than in the Middle East. We all know the Middle East. That region over there where things are always, shall we say, tense. It's a region where the US has historically drawn a lot of red lines. Remember those WMDs in Iraq? Turned out to be more like WM don't exist. Awkward. But hey, who's keeping track? Certainly not the American public, who are far too busy trying to afford healthcare and housing. Fast forward to the Biden era, a time of promised competence and a return to normalcy. Remember that? Good times. Except, it seems, when it comes to those pesky red lines. Take, for instance, the recent flare-up between Israel and Hamas. Now, it's important to remember that this conflict is incredibly complex, with a history longer than a CVS receipt. However, for the sake of brevity and our collective sanity, let's just focus on one tiny aspect, the whole red line kerfuffle. Biden, in his infinite wisdom, declared that any ground incursion by Israel into Gaza would be a big mistake, a red line, if you will. Israel, being the independent nation that it is, with its own interests and all, promptly disregarded this stern warning and launched a ground offensive in Gaza. The result? Well, besides the tragic loss of life and widespread destruction in Gaza, there was also a healthy dose of international confusion and a generous dollop of American embarrassment. It seems that Biden's red line was more like a red suggestion, or maybe a red dotted line. Or perhaps, and this is just a wild theory, it was never a real red line at all. Perhaps it was just another example of politicians saying one thing and doing another. You know, that thing they're so good at, it's almost like they've had years of practice or something. But here's the kicker, folks. The US still gets to play the role of the world's policeman, even when it can't control its own metaphorical squad car. We can wag our fingers at other countries, issue stern pronouncements, and draw red lines all over the map. But when those lines are crossed, well, we just shrug our shoulders and say, oh well, what are you gonna do? It's this kind of consistency that makes America a true global leader, or something. I mean, who needs actual consequences when you have rhetoric, right? Words are powerful after all. They can inspire nations, heal wounds, and oh, who are we kidding? They're just words. So, the next time you hear a politician utter the phrase red line, don't be fooled by the apparent toughness. It's probably just another empty threat, destined to be ignored and forgotten, like a New Year's resolution made after one too many glasses of champagne. Because in the grand game of international politics, red lines are often nothing more than red herrings, designed to distract us from the real issues at hand. And as for the Middle East, well, it seems that the only thing that's certain is uncertainty. And maybe That's the real red line we should all be worried about.